Flexbox in 5 minutes. The foundation of Flexbox relies on the concept of a parent and its children. So to start off, we are going to need a parent or a container and several children inside. Moving past all of the styling CSS, we can set the parent element to have a display of flex, creating two imaginary axes, horizontal and vertical. By default, display flex sets the axis to horizontal, causing all of the children items to display horizontally in one line. This can be changed by using our first property, flex direction. By setting the direction to column, we can move the items back into their original position along the vertical axis. Our next flex property is justify content. Justify content aligns items along the horizontal axis. Setting this property to flex start won't change anything because it is already there, but setting it to flex end will move it all the way to the right or the end of the flex. We can also use justify content center to move the children to the middle of the horizontal axis. A few more useful properties within justify content are space around, space between, and space evenly. Space around distributes the children with even space in between them, but half that between the walls or the edge of the parent element. Space between is similar to space around, but no gap is left between the walls of the parent element. Lastly, space evenly aligns all of the items with even spacings between the children as well as the walls of the parent. Next, we have align items. Align items moves items along the vertical axis, so setting this property to center moves all of the items into the middle of the vertical axis. We also have flex end, which moves the items vertically to the edge of the parent element, and then also flex start, which once again is its default value. It is super important to remember that align items moves items along the vertical axis, and justify content moves items along the horizontal axis. What happens if we were to add 3 more items? The parent element doesn't have enough room to hold all of them, so it will simply crush the elements to make them fit. To fix this, we can use the flex wrap property to tell the parent to move each item that can't fit onto another line. As you can see, after setting the flex wrap property to wrap, all of the items that couldn't fit before have now been moved onto the row below. By adding this property to the parent, we have now unlocked another property called align content, which once again moves items along the vertical axis. It is very important that you don't confuse this property with align items, even though they are very similar. Setting align content to center moves all of the rows into the center of the parent element moving along the vertical axis. We won't go into flex start or flex end as you already know what they do. At the moment, all of our elements are being pushed together with no gap in between them, so to move the items apart, we can simply use the property gap to break them apart. This property isn't exclusive to flex and can also be used in grids. All of the flex properties that I have shown so far are centered around the parent element. We'll now take a look at the properties we can apply to the actual children inside the parent. First, we'll remove the elements we added earlier as well as all of the flex properties that have been applied to the parent. If we go ahead and target the third box, or the last element in the parent, and apply our first property, flex grow, and set this value to 1, you can see that the element grew to fill the rest of the available space. This exact same thing would happen if we applied this property to the second or first box. The next property we can apply to a child item is flex shrink. Flex shrink determines how fast the targeted item shrinks in comparison to all other children. Setting this value to 3 causes the item to shrink much faster than all other items, as you can see. If we set this value to 0, the targeted item will refuse to shrink no matter the screen size. In almost no case will you ever need to use these 3 values separately, as you can simply use the flex shorthand parameter. Flex combines flex grow, flex shrink, and flex basis into one line, making it much simpler to apply. If I, for instance, only apply one value to box 1, the other 2 values will be set automatically for me to their default values. The last property we can apply to a child element is order. Order should never be used unless you really have to because it messes with the accessibility of your HTML. By default, all of the items are displayed in order of the HTML document, meaning each child element has an order of 0. If we were to set box 3 to have an order value of -1, it will move to the front of the row. Now, if we set box 1's order value to 1, it will appear at the end of the list. Once again, please do not use this property if you don't have to. Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and I would be happy to answer them.